Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. And besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impower, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fanfiction it inspires. I'm Kasey.
I'm Sandra, and today we're chatting with a member of our idling server who found our little community and podcast a few months ago. Charlie, known as chippsart on Tumblr, reached out to us to chat about their fandom journey and the topic of transformation on Supernatural and the fanfiction inspired by it. I credit Charlie with sparking my interest in exploring transformation for one of our recent Tags and Tropes episodes. We're also hoping to get a chance to talk about Charlie's artistic talent and some recent Bang collabs they've done. So thank you for joining us, and welcome to the podcast, Charlie.
Welcome.
Hello.
It's good to finally talk with you about all the things, because I know you were very much like, I have thoughts. I would like to discuss them. And we were like, yes, please. We want to hear the thoughts.
We would like to hear the thoughts. Tell us your thoughts.
But I think, Charlie, we always kind of, since this podcast is about Supernatural and the fan fiction inspired by it, we like to pull it all the way back and ask our guests, when exactly did you get into Supernatural?
Okay, geez, that's going to be hard. So, fun fact, I was going through most of the shows, like the Super Hulock stuff, because my sister finished Supernatural before I got into it.
Okay.
And then I think I saw a shit post on Twitter, and I'm like, okay, I'm now convinced, because I had multiple times I could have watched the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it, because I got recommended some ad off of Instagram for when the Scoobynatural special was airing, and I'm like, no, I'm not really, now's not the time. No, and I'm like, when I tell people that, I'm like, no, it's not, because I was watching anime at the time, because I think I was watching, it was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure before I went into Sherlock, and I'm like, no,
Okay.
I went into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, then in the Beatles, then in the Sherlock, and somehow I ended up in the Supernatural.
Okay.
So that's a weird chain of events. But
well, yeah, we've heard all sorts of ways people end up getting into it. So honestly, no, doesn't sound that weird.
That's pretty normal. We've heard all of the stories.
Now, I was going to ask, because you said Scooby. So did you watch Scooby-Doo? Were you like into Scooby-Doo? Is that one of the reasons why that popped up?
So actually, I follow just what's going on in the animation industry as a whole to see what's going on.
Okay.
So at the time, there's a few animators I think I was getting recommended that worked on the episode as a whole. So I don't know if there's a few of the model sheets for the boys floating around, but fun fact, there is barely any mouth charts and or expressions out there for them, because usually when you're working on an animated project and you have to ship whatever overseas, because most of the time it's all just storyboarded in the States and then they'll send whatever overseas. And I'm like, I was peeved, because I'm like, okay, where are the mouth charts for, because there's a few mouth charts for Dean floating around, but there's supposed to be ones for Sam and Castiel, because it will tell you, okay, this is what certain whatever mouth motion they're supposed to make for certain sounds and whatnot. So like for like Sam can be exaggerated severely or whatnot.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't find that. And I'm like, say if I wanted to do a project or whatever, I would have to, oh God, I don't want to get started on my college projects, because I had to do 2D animation for one of them. And that was a joke, because usually the mouth movements for that take a bit of a shorter time to do, because you have to like listen to somebody pronounce their words to the point where it will drive you nuts.
Mm-hmm.
To just figure out like how the mouth movement needs to be, portrayed in animation. Gotcha. Oh, what a travesty to have to study Sam's mouth for an inordinate amount of time. That would be horrible for Kasey.
I would have the worst time with that, guys. It would just be awful. I dread coming into work every day. No, to be fair, Charlie, I totally get it. There becomes a point where interest becomes tedium. And you're like, I don't want to look at your face anymore. And
I know. Well, it's not even that. It's listening to their voice, because if certain vowels or whatever gets drawn out for too long, you have to sit through that whole thing, and then you're like, okay, it stops here. Then they start the next bit. Because usually, like, animation's weird because it becomes fun after a bit, but then it's like it starts drawing and keep going, and then because it's better if you're not doing like mouth charts and stuff, but I'm like,
I think it's like everything else. When you have an affinity or you like something, you think this would be fun, and then you get into it, and then you realize
and you're like, I have
all
made
of the things. I
a
have made
horrible
choices.
Mistake. I
have made choices that get me right in the middle of it, right in the thick of it. So it's interesting. That not calling out any names, in particular about that situation. So would you say
it's not a part of animation I'd have ever considered?
No,
I got taught by an ex-Disney animator that was at the end of the Renaissance Prime and into the early 2000s works, because he worked on Brother Bear, Lilo and Stitch, and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, what's ironic is most of the stuff he's gone through, they're very strict on what you're supposed to do and how it's supposed to look, especially with Brother Bear and how semi-realistic most of all the stuff is in the show. There's a certain way you can and cannot do things for that. So it's like you cannot fib up whatever in there. If you do, then it's going to be very noticeable on screen. It could be something completely minor, but again, with how most of all the stuff works now, you could pause, skim through the entire thing, and find the errors. Now,
I've got a tangent a little bit on this, and then we're going to get into Kasey's question. But my, because I am a Scooby, so I'm assuming, because I've actually gone back and looked at the episode in question that Scoobynatural, the episode, was based off of. What were your thoughts overall about the animation being true to, I can't help it, being true to sort of, I guess, the feeling or the way Scooby-Doo was animated? Did you have any thoughts about that in particular? Did you go back and again, I don't know in terms of how much you wanted to, but did you go back and look at the original episode that it was based off of, or no?
For me, I'm a Hanna-Barbera nut, so I've seen enough of their content to tell you that the Scoobynatural stuff mixes into modern Scooby-Doo. It does not match how the original content of Scooby-Doo itself, because Scooby-Doo as a whole is a very stiffly animated show, and it shows. Because they mainly focus on more talking than movement, because again, movement costs money, talking costs less money. And then you're limited to a certain amount of cells and whatnot. Cell is pretty much what they're painting on. It's plastic film.
Oh, I loved that though. When Dean was like, look, that book, the book that's not in the background, that's the book that you can tell they're going to have to move, that kind of stuff.
Hey, I loved that era of Disney animation. That was good. Sleeping Beauty and Snow White.
I thought the background and everything, that kind of stuff, I do love that. And I thought that was very, they were spot on with getting that, that feel of it, the background part of it, I thought was really interesting to me. It felt like it wasn't a big stretch, I don't know. I really like that.
I'm getting this vibe that you might have liked Scoobynatural, Sandra.
I did.
Am I off base there?
I did like that. That was one of my favorites. You know that. You know that. Yeah, I know. There's no accounting for taste. But anyway, that was my tangent. Since you mentioned,
I'm very nitpicky if it's certain things, because I can tell when it's too modernized, because I'm like, you're trying to make it similar, but the problem is I'm going to tell you, Dean is not accurate to Scooby-Doo model sheet style, because it's based off of how they've been modernizing most of the characters, because I blame WrestleMania for starting that.
Okay.
So,
WWE thing?
Yes, they did a bunch
the video
of
games.
Crossovers. No, they did a bunch of animated crossovers. Think of them as direct-to-DVD movies. They did a bunch of those for Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
And then, so I can blame that for changing the style up too, because I'm like, Dean, if you look at him, he does not match the style that well for the show. Sam is 50-50. Castiel's dead on to how it's supposed to look. Castiel, just in general, model sheet wise and look, he's perfect. He fits in. Sam, he's borderline. They could tweak it a bit. Dean,
it was Dean's mouth, wasn't it? It was a Dean's mouth.
That is one of the problems I had with that episode, because Sam just got like the only like real bits of Sam you got was his like his forehead frowny lines, and Dean had the big like pouty mouth, and I was like, this is like low-key offensive at this point.
Yeah, no, I like it's one of those animator things, because they actually will pick a certain trait on somebody to exaggerate, and that's generally what you need to do in order for the character to resemble whoever. But I'm like, if I were them, I would have reworked those model sheets and really took some time and watched a few episodes, because I don't want to get started on how SpongeBob's doing their stuff now, because it drives me nuts.
What was Sam's exaggerated feature then? His nose.
Yes.
Boy's got nothing. Oh no!
No, that was okay.
I'm looking at the like a drawing of the Scoobynatural animations, and yeah, Dean's got the mouth, and Castle's got like the brow and the frown.
I felt like they did too much with Dean's chin. I don't know. Like, to me, it was like,
they did way too much. No, like
Can't believe
one of the main animators just said Dean is the mouth for sure, and the look of his face. And I'm over here like, nah. As a person that watches Hanna-Barbera content, they did him dirty. I'm sorry.
They did all of them dirty.
They did all of them dirty, man. I'm not happy. I'm not happy one bit.
Oh, God. Kasey, we should get on track. I'm going to get us down another rabbit hole with that.
Are you sure you done with Scoobynatural now?
I'm good.
Satisfied your curiosity?
I've satisfied my curiosity. Thank you.
If you can, like, you don't have to, if you consider yourself like a bi-bro or you love everybody or anything like that, but if you can, do you have one brother that you consider your blorbo over the other? And if so, who is it?
It's Sam. Dean just reminds me too much of my dad, and I'm like, no, I'm not having that.
I'm down with that. Guys, we're closing the gap.
Are we closing the gap? Kasey?
We're closing the gap. Yeah, it's 19 to 23 now.
There we go.
No, Dean people, get on this podcast. If I don't have this to bitch about, I will be a very sad case. It's Sam. I love it.
So, aside from Dean reminding you of someone you'd rather him not, what else is it about Sam that you particularly like that makes him your blorbo?
Oh God. Okay. So this might be a weird genetic thing, but so this is an old show my dad used to watch. It came out, I think, in the 70s or something. It's a cop show. There's a dude in there that looks similar to Jared, and then my dad's like, "Oh yeah, your aunt used to like him," and I'm like, "God damn!"
What's the show?
You remember what show it was?
It's called Adam 12.
Oh, the cop show.
Yes.
They were in uniform a lot, right? Like, was
yes.
it? Okay. Kasey, you might need to look that up just so you can see, because I think I'm looking at. I think I know the person that you're talking about just by I'm blinking about it.
I'm looking, and I'm kind of like, is it the one with the face?
Yeah, he has the mop haircut, and then he has a very similar like jawline to how Jared looks, especially during in his 20s, to the point where I'm like,
is it a main character or a side character?
No, both him and the other cop guy, they're both mains because they both work together. So yes.
So it's the one with the darker hair and not freckles.
And the nose. Yeah,
it looks like Tom Cruise to me.
Well, I mean, Jared has
Tom Cruise bride.
Jared,
if you say Jared looks like Tom Cruise, I'm going to reach in his laptop and choke you.
No, but I'm saying Jared he has a presence about him that like matches that. The younger version of Jared, I can see that. Like, as soon as Charlie had said that, I had a picture of that person in my head. I couldn't tell you what the other guy looked like, but I remembered him, so I could see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Well, then, yeah, there might be some genetics there. If you're, you said you had a family member.
Yeah, no, I'm like, oh no, it's fucking genetic. No.
Aw, no.
I would like to tell you categorically that preference for a brother probably isn't that genetic, because I know for a goddamn fact everyone else in my family that is blood related to me who is into Supernatural is into Dean. And when I'm like, but Sam, they're like, no, I can't stand the fucking hair, needs an haircut. So don't sweat that. I am the freak Sam.
I think hair is a big factor though for people. Like, I have a mom who's just like, no, I don't like long hair, so she won't even I don't think she'd give Sam the time of day just because of his hair. But
people can be wrong. That's okay.
People can be wrong.
Against them.
People can be wrong.
We hold it against them a little bit, but not. Yeah, a little bit.
So, Charlie, I mean, when did you start watching Supernatural? Are we talking 3, 4? How many years has it been?
22 is when I started it.
Okay.
I started in March of 22, and me and my friend were we're watching it in my dorm, because at the time I was in a 3-story dorm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, I need to watch something during college, because I'm like, I think it was my first semester, we're doing digital painting, and I had to nail down color choices to dead on and stuff, so it got stressful.
Have you done a whole watch through? Have you seen it from start to finish?
I've been rewatching episodes with a friend right now over Discord, and oh god, it's been funny because I was telling them all the inside jokes that we started with. Because I'm like, why would the apocalypse start in Detroit? What was the decision to do Detroit? They could have done any other city. So
it's I'll tell you what it is. It's because most people outside of America know Detroit, but it doesn't have the same reputation as New York or LA or Dallas or Houston. Nobody would buy it if they were like, yes, the apocalypse starts in LA. No, it doesn't.
I just felt more of just the location of it, because it seems more middle, I mean, it's upper middle, but upper middle of the country. So I kind of always just thought it was just kind of I don't know, easier to spread out.
Yeah, that's
from there kind of a situation too.
It's pretty high up near the border, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so you kind of just filter down and out. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
But yeah,
where would you have picked the apocalypse to start then?
Yeah,
if not Detroit.
Because the problem is, it's when you have certain memes off of certain cities and stuff, you're like, oh damn, now I can make all these jokes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, if it was something I would have started in the apocalypse in Kansas regardless. I'm like, I would have started it nearby where Sam and Dean were born and raised. I would have done that regardless. And I'm like, hey, they could have picked some random city, but I'm like, if people are diehard, there's already enough diehard fans. I'm like, you just boosted the tourism of that one city alone. And I'm like, I would have done that.
Yeah, and I can see that. I would. The writers were probably like, no, that's too obvious. We're not going to do that. And then 10 years down the line, they were like, how more obvious can we make it, guys? We've abandoned those subtly. Yeah. Where would you have started the apocalypse, Sandra?
Well, the apocalypse started technically, in my mind anyway, in Delaware. So I would have been fine with Delaware. Well, that's where Lucifer first popped up. Once everything got opened, Nick was in Delaware.
Yeah.
So
I will hold on to that. Down in Delaware.
I don't know, but you know what? There was a lot of shit that I just get a fun little grin on my face, they mentioned Delaware. Not any of the good reasons, but they mentioned Delaware. So no,
I would have started it in Florida.
Okay.
As an outsider, I would have started it in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, they could have just had their beach episode before the apocalypse started.
Yeah.
Beach.
I feel
my reasonings have nothing to do with beach and everything to do with all of the politicians from Florida.
And again, I'm still thinking location, and it's all being a peninsula. I don't know. I guess for me, Delaware, being close to Washington D.C., all those things. It's literally smack dab. It's in the middle of all of the stuff. It's around everything that it could do a decent amount of damage on the East Coast. So
I will say, I wanted to say New York because that's the birthplace of a certain someone who shall remain nameless. But that did feel pretty mean to the millions of people that live in New York.
Yeah,
that are perfectly fine.
Yeah, but I can get the inside jokes too, because you do I always wonder, you know, what are certain writers thinking about, like when they're picking it. And I always wonder if there's like, oh, well, you know, I know this about this, or I know this about this. And I want to like, just, you know, as a like, a little like insider joke, like you said, like I'm still certain somebody from that show has some background in Delaware because they did too many things that were Delaware related. And I wouldn't
be surprised because I'm like, I just have to laugh because even animators do the same thing. They'll hide in really funny inside jokes, and you're like, you won't get it unless if you're part of it. Because that's normally what I do with Supernatural. Is we just had many people show up, and I think I rewatched Swap Meet with my friend, and then we're like, oh my god, no, Mark Zuckerberg just shows up. And it was like the ending of the episode, and then they had the one girl get possessed by the demon, and then I'm like, what if instead of asking for money, he could just ask for a horse? The many possibilities you could do with a horse. I mean, think about it.
No,
Goodness.
money.
Money can get you everything. Money can get you everything.
If the horse be good, you could put it into racing and win even more money than what they were asking for. So
is when you what if. Yep, lots of what ifing. That's the great thing about that show. It lets you what if to infinity, and you could just what if away. So Charlie, I wanted to ask too, do you have some favorite characters of the show? Not just Sam. We know Sam's your blurbo, but like other really favorite characters that you absolutely love seeing when they pop up on the show.
I can't comprehend the amount of people in the show because I'm one of those people that's like, I indulge in so much stuff to the point where it's like I'm literally rewatching episodes and I forgot what even happened in them, kind of thing. So I'm like, I don't know who's showing up or like why they're showing up, but I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and then like I can't figure it out.
The bouncing, I think that's because there are so many seasons, right? Like you can bounce around like based off of shows you want, and you do really have to like remind yourself, wait, what's going on? Who's still alive? Who's going to come back? Where's the gap? Like, is there a certain character you're not going to see for a few years?
Exactly.
My husband and I we try to like rewatch in order, but then every once in a while I'll be like, I want to watch a different episode. We'll put it in. He's like, okay, what's going on now that I need to be made aware of? And I'm just like, just don't worry about it. Just watch the show. Just enjoy the show for what it is at that time.
That's sacrilege.
I know, but I can't help it. There's going to be certain episodes we're going to have to do a rewatch for. So, you know, we're going to have to like pull ourselves out of what's currently going on. I think I wanted to switch over to more of like fandom and fanfic. So we know you started watching Supernatural about maybe like 3 years ago or so. When did you get into the Supernatural fandom right away? It sounds like you knew about it right before, but then did you like immerse yourself into the fandom as well once you got into the show?
Yes, normally I do content wise. So like if I start watching whatever and I get into it enough, then yes, I'll be in fandom wise.
And you did come in like, I mean, you're coming in 2 years after the show ended. So yeah, I feel like I know Kasey and I collectively feel like we missed that sweet spot of what it was like, you know, to be in the fandom. I know you mentioned you use Discord a lot. So did you find communities on Discord for Supernatural? Did you do Tumblr more?
It's a mix of all three, actually.
Okay.
Because I'm everywhere all at once.
Oh, you're like that. You're like that movie. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
That sounds exhausting, though.
That's like, a lot.
How do you get anything done?
Yeah. So I mean, are you plugged in?
Done.
So are you plugged in a lot? Like just like
yes.
all the time? Okay.
The amount I'm like I've been sucked into Instagram Reels so bad. Yeah, I can understand why everybody's attention spans are absolute shit now because it's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's insipid as well. Like you start watching reels and you're like, this is fine. I'm just gonna watch a reel, and then you're watching tens of them at a time.
Yes,
I don't do socials as much. I have noticed I am more on Instagram. Like I tried TikTok, didn't understand it, stopped. I don't do Facebook
Instagram
anymore.
supernatural reels are nice though, because they tend to be a lot of con stuff.
Yeah.
I save a lot of con stuff from Insta.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think a lot of it too is just like, right, like once I've noticed, like if you click on one thing or you spend more time on something, I'm assuming that the algorithms or whatever are like, oh, you must want to see more of this. So then that would kind of like cloud or muddy keeping it, I guess, like pristine or like curated. I would think is kind of hard if you just like you're scrolling through and stuff is just popping up, and if you stop. Again, I don't know. It's too much for my brain to try to figure out. We're just trying to figure out our YouTube half the time. We're like, I don't know why this is. I don't know why people are watching this and not something else. Can't figure it out. Can't figure it out to save our lives.
It just happens.
And we're not supposed to. That we're not supposed to understand how any of that works. I think that's a part of it too.
I do.
The algorithms of those websites, they train you as much as you train them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's worth like.
We gotta build this home.
I only get supernatural content on Insta.
Mm.
And I use YouTube all the time, and I don't get supernatural content on YouTube because I deliberately, if I have to search for something supernatural based, and obviously the algorithm goes, aha, and then I spend a fair amount of time going, not interested in this, not interested in this, not interested in this. Because when I search out supernatural content, it's a conscious choice. I will go to Tumblr or I will go to Insta, and I will be like, now is supernatural headspace time. I can't have that in my eyeballs 24/7. I just no. And my Facebook reels are full of people making stuff out of clay and people mixing paint and owls and bees and cats.
Sounds like a nice place.
Right.
Nice place to be.
No, mine's so bad. I don't know how I got.
It's not bad. It's just
no, it's
you're
bad.
in your everything. But you're in your everything everywhere all of the time.
So you're gonna
kind
get
of
everything.
space.
Yeah.
When you get to our age, when you become old and boring and miserable, you curate your experiences a little bit more because you're like, do you know what I just don't have time for? Fucking perky people. I don't have time. Go away. I don't want perky people. I don't want happy people. I want people that I relate to.
With the communities and stuff, when did fanfiction become a part of all of this for you?
I read fan fiction here and there, actually. So because I'm one of those people that it's like, there's a meme that I'm like, it's called the neuron activation meme. So it has to literally activate the damn neuron for me to like it. If it's not, I will skim read.
Okay.
And then I'm like, nah, this ain't hitting the niche, and I'll move on, kind of thing. Like,
do you use AO3 or do you use it? Have you tried to read stuff on Tumblr? Where do you usually try to read fan fiction?
AO3 is the easiest for me because I'm like, I had a Wattpad account. It sucked.
Okay.
I hate Wattpad. And then fanfiction.net is hard to use. I don't know how you can navigate that thing because I'm like, you can only do it on your computer because you have to hit Control F and like I'm looking for this exact thing. And I'm like, I'm not looking for anything else because it's like, I think it works like AO3 where you type in maybe the tag you're looking for. Nah, it's just going to list the title of the fic. And I'm like, I can't navigate this website. I'm like, this is too hard.
Yeah.
I don't have this time.
Not if you're
nobody
everywhere.
got time to be learning new websites either. That's it. That's the problem I have with Tumblr. That's why I don't post fic on Tumblr. That's why I don't read fic on Tumblr because I'm like, do you know who does not have the time to learn how to do this properly? This bitch.
I've only tracked down a few things that you've written, Charlie. So is that still something new that are you still like playing around with writing, or have you kind of like put that down for a little bit, or what's going on like on that end with writing?
If I'm writing, it's because I'm bored. I've reached a point where it's like I consumed enough content that I'm like, I'm bored. I want to do a different thing, and then I'll do that different thing, and then I'll go back to consuming stuff. So it's one of those like I have to be motivated to do it, or I'll be going back to what I'm already currently doing.
So this is where we get to like the big part of the discussion, because I know this was a thing. I think the topic of like animal transformation, right? Like that came up when I was doing the tags and tropes episode. And I know you had thoughts about animal transformation in particular that you wanted to kind of like talk about. When did you become interested in that trope?
Oh, this is a childhood thing. It's been there forever to the point where it's like, I'm like, everything I've seen has been in that genre regardless. I had free will cable, which means I could have watched anything, but I chose not to. I had no reason to. So what's funny about the stuff I've watched is there was a huge boom, I think, in the early 2000s for sure, for just animal transformation content, to the point where it's like most movies and or TV shows had it in there regardless. If you didn't, then you weren't in the know for sure. Because I'm like, if I list a bunch of cartoons, they're going to have the episode in there regardless, because it's like a requirement kind of thing.
And did that have a lot? I mean, did that have a lot to do with your interest in animation too? I mean, do you think those two things kind of went together?
That's all I watched was animated content. I'm like, again, my sister watched Vampire Diaries. I wasn't interested. She watched Hannah Montana. I'm like, nah, this sucks. I'm going to go watch Ben 10 because Ben 10 just hits right. And, and I'm right here like, nah, that good stuff.
When you found, I guess, the animal transformation stuff happening, I'm assuming seeing that at some point in Supernatural kind of got you interested in, like, maybe your antenna was like went up and you were like, wait, what are they doing with this on the show? Did you have thoughts about seeing that, like certain episodes that kind of like leaned into that? Like, what were your overall thoughts about that?
Certain things will click, other things will not, because usually if I'm watching an episode, it has the click. If it doesn't, then it becomes background noise for me.
Can you give me an example of one that clicked for you?
I have a serious issue with Dog Dean Afternoon that I'm like, I will rant about it, because I've seen enough people changing in the dog media to the point where it's like what they did, I'm like, it works, but I'm like, nah, it's not. There's a territory you do not cross, because Disney did it and it was executed so poorly that I've watched 30-year-old men cringe so hard trying to review the movie that one of them almost threw up.
What are we talking about now? What movie? Did I miss it?
There's a franchise. I collect for it. I'm collecting for the first one. I think I've mentioned it before, but I collect stuff for the Shaggy Dog.
Okay, gotcha.
The 06 movie you do not cross into that. Dog Dean Afternoon was very close to crossing into that territory that it would have been very hard to watch.
Gotcha. Okay. So didn't hit right for you for that one. Was there one that did?
I was watching a lot of the early season 1 stuff, like Skin, especially. That one hit right, because most of the people that do transmission episodes right have to click that problem area, and that one did it very well, that it worked.
So what's that problem area?
Mostly it's dealing with why the person's changing and the mental state that they're in at the time, and the pros and cons of it.
Okay. So like, are you thinking a lot too of like the fact of like Dean as the shifter getting into Dean's head and then using that, spinning that, and then like the conversations like with Sam, different things like that kind of aspect of the episode?
Actually, I was more relating on the shifter side than Sam and Dean for that episode, which is interesting. A lot of people don't get into that, but when I know exactly what the hell they're thinking, I comprehend that.
So more like the long lines of being like on the outsider always and trying to find a way. Because I know like that, I think the point too was trying to make it seem tragic, of course, like in a way, with the discussions and stuff about.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can see that part of it too. That was, I think being that was only like maybe like the 6th episode to have already like
Skin was 6.
Yeah. To get in there already, like, to try to get into sort of like the backstory of the monster, I thought was pretty interesting. Cause I mean, I think before that maybe it was like Bloody Mary and a couple of other things that were going on.
Yeah. It was really early on. And I think it probably was like an attempt to be like, oh, look, monsters can be a little bit human as well, but they still need to die. Because it was still like early on in that. Still kind of going, look at all the monsters kind of vibe.
No, just out of all the episodes, that one was done a bit too well, to the point where it's like, if you watch any episode after that deals with shapeshifter content or just in general shifter content, I it's more of a negative than a pro. That one had it in neutral, that it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, nah, we're gonna crank this up to 11 and make it more on the line of like it's completely wrong, which I'm curious if I'm like, they could have made it decent, but I'm like, no, you had the one where the dude was disguised as a dog and pretty much stalking the family and stuff. And I'm like, why? I'm like, you guys had an opportunity to make shifters look good or borderline okay, but no, it's like every other creature gets a chance. But I'm like, no, yeah, shifters get pretty much shifted down into this is borderline creepy territory, to the point where it's like, I don't know what happened.
So you feel like the shifters are getting shit on, basically, in terms of like the monster hierarchy.
I don't want to be controversial here. I have a lot of sympathy for the humanized monster and things like that. But in a very real way, I want someone out there walking around with my face. I don't like that. And also the traditional like shapeshifters from skin, they're icky. The goo? No. Like Lucky, I can't remember what he was, but like it was like a
season. So, but All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Lucky was fine.
But All Dogs Go to Heaven was a skinwalker, so that was a little bit different than the shifters situation.
And frankly,
yeah, they're under the same category. I would group them under the same thing regardless. Because if
but skinwalkers are not icky. Skinwalker's not icky. And frankly, that lady needed to count. Like, I can't believe she showed the dog in his face at the end. Fuck you. Lucky, he was protecting you.
Lucky wasn't lucky. Lucky was not lucky.
The only problem, I'm like, the episode itself, other than the whole him kind of being a perv in a way, like the episode, other than that,
I could have done without that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, they just made that, because if they didn't add that, the episode would have been fine, and you would have had some sympathy for the dude. But that first instance ruined the whole fucking episode. And I'm over here watching this, like, and I'm like, I had mixed reaction to that, because it's like, he's doing a good thing, but the whole, like, God knows how long he's been with that family for, and the whole thing is just fucking wrong. There's no counteracting that whatsoever. It's a moral thing for me. That it was just, I'm like, that's the problem, is it's like, I'm like, people don't get that. I'm like, with transformation content as a whole, there needs to be morals put in there. If there's not, then it's going to be some masochist kind of clusterfuck as a whole.
I don't know. I think if the dog had taken a vow to stay out of my fucking bedroom.
And it was season 6. It was season 6, because I'm thinking about it now, because Sam was soulless and he was being really. Do you remember that scene though?
That's
Sam
the
was
whole
not
reason that I liked that episode.
Yeah.
And I'm trying desperately to find something redeeming about the monster to justify liking that episode. But the problem is, the only reason I like that episode is because I get to hear Jared say, "Is it a kinky thing?" And then when Lucky tells him to go to hell, and he just goes, "Already been, didn't agree with me." God damn it. But no, if your pet, right, if you kept a pet around for protection and it was a fucking badass German Shepherd, right, super cute, and if anyone genuinely threatened your house, it could turn into a man and punch them in the face. Fuck yeah, just stay out of my bedroom. You live in the living room.
Well, I feel like he did more for them beneficially as a dog than he did as the dude. Yes. You know? Yeah.
But then equally, I know I'm being hypocritical, because if one of my pets turned into a person, and if Jinxie, like,
no, I don't want to talk to you like this. I'm very uncomfortable. You
turned into a person, and I was like, oh, no, you've seen too much, you know too much, get back in your cat form, motherfucker. Don't turn into a person.
Yeah, no. I'm like, that's like the moral stuff for me, for sure. Because I'm like, this is the stuff nobody thinks about, but I have to think about, because it's like, also, just in general, even when doing art for transformation stuff, I'm like, I have to think about all this stuff, and like, it could get weird, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't.
Well, it sounds like you're really like getting into all the aspects of it too, which, I mean, again, like we can tell just conversationally that this is something that really like makes your brain like, go, like you get into a lot of like what ifs, like rabbit holes, like we do with like, Sam and Dean for various other things that we get into. But in terms of the, that part of it. So I'm curious, because you said some other monsters got it better are there other like if we do hierarchy on the show, who do you think got the best treatment in terms of monster on the show?
I think
Vampires.
vampires for damn sure. Because I'm
Okay.
like, you had Benny show up later, and that once Benny showed up, I'm
It
like,
humanized it in a way,
yes.
right?
It pretty much humanized it to a point where it's like, yeah.
Mhm.
Werewolves, I think, mixed. I'm in the 50-50 for that, but I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they started, like, in general, the show just started shifting out of monsters later on to the point where it's one of those, like, it became, I think I could tell the writers were having difficulty trying to get it to work because it's like, you got to either focus on Sam and Dean or focus on the emotional aspect of so-and-so dealing with, oh no, I just became werewolf.
Yeah. And there's also budgetary reasons, right? Like, I mean, like, it seems like it's a lot easier to say, oh, this human form shifts into these other things, but we're not going to show it most of the time, or we're not going to give you that, you know. So as part of like the shifting, like, so, I mean, I'm going to go back to skin. Do you like seeing like the shifting aspect of stuff in like cartoons and things like that as well? Like that whole, like the, how they get from point A to point B kind
Hopefully
of a
without
situation?
the ick.
Yeah.
I like the ick.
I don't know how
Like
you
if
are
you
with
like
it.
the ick, I'm not judging or shaming. I
Mhm.
just don't. I'm like, oh no, it's goopy.
Mhm.
Oh,
Is it more
no.
animation that you like are interested in for that part of it, or since you watched a lot of it?
So there's a weird line I draw, especially with transformation stuff. It is incredibly hard to watch it with an actual person than it is for animation. Animation is more tolerable for me. Because again, I've seen some weird stuff animation wise. Like there's a show called Parasites, an anime, and the parasite's job is to literally eat the head of the person and take over its whole body.
Okay.
And the parasite, like, just to attack a person, the whole head splits apart into like different pieces, and it turns into blades, and it will kill whatever.
Like a Demogorgon crossed with a Leviathan.
In a way, yes, but this is like more simplified to the point where it's very controlled and how quick it is. But I'm like, I could tolerate that, but if you're getting it, like the whole thing with Dean and the skin episode there, that gets in a bit more iffy range because there's some things I do not like. So that would be people getting their nails pulled out. I don't like that. I could feel that. It's one of those you could feel it, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah. Poor Sam had that happen to him twice.
That I could feel that, and I'm like, I don't like that. No, I can handle most gore stuff, but I'm like, nah. Yeah, it's usually anything getting pulled out, but if it's like natural where it's falling out, that's fine. I can handle that a bit more.
Okay.
Because it's not, it's one of those, like, it's a pain tolerance thing. It's one of those, like, it's an exposure thing. You have to get exposed to enough of that for it to mostly you to gain a tolerance for that and doesn't bother you anymore kind of thing.
Well, I think that falls into the aspect of, I know, like, I think I've talked to Kasey about this quite a bit too. Like for me, for reading, if I'm reading something rather than being shown it, like I can self-edit what I'm choosing to really like deep dive into in terms of description or what's happening or things along that lines. So I'm wondering too, like with the fan fiction, have you found anything that you particularly like about the, like somebody who's portrayed transformation in a way that you have enjoyed? Or are you still kind of like not really there yet in terms of like really deep diving into the transformation in fiction? Or is that something you're really trying to find more of?
Dude, there is a severe lack in well done transformation stuff. Even in this fandom and other ones I've been in, it is not done well, and it does need to be fixed. I've only read one fic that filled in enough of the criteria for me that I'm like, this was very well done, and the person that thought through this knew exactly what they're doing. Well, I had maybe the Walker fic. I had somebody write for me too, but I'm like, that laid on bit more in the pet play area for sure, because when you get into dog transformation, I'm like, you have to think about all this other stuff. It gets weird. But it's literally Sam gets turned into a boa constrictor. But again, you have to think about Sam doesn't have the exact same brain size anymore. And I'm like, I can't, I don't know if like this is generally human consciousness as a whole, but I'm like, humans only use, I think, like 10, if not 25% of their pretty much brain as a whole for thinking and stuff. So it's like, again, it just became a snake. How much of that just got cut off to the point where it gets overwhelmed with snake instincts and stuff to the point where it's like, he's gone. That's what that fic is messing with.
Okay.
Is that, like, people don't think about, like, oh, this person's now in a smaller body, but they don't think about, oh, how much of their, like, brain capacity's gone? Because it's like, it maybe it's fully there at the start, but it's like, no, you gotta like, I'm like, when you think about it, like, especially with dog transformation, you have to especially think about that, because it's like, yeah, they're going to be degrading as they're in that form.
Well, that's, I think, a part of like the transformation stuff in general, like the sentience, like, you know, of inanimate objects and different things like that, you know, I guess maybe some people are suspending, you know, the physics or the, you know, that part of it too, when they're writing. Because again, if you're going to get into all of that, I mean, I could imagine Kasey's brain going, this is so much stuff to be like,
that's what I mean.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of sitting here going, but it's magic, of course. Like, it's a magical thing, so it would keep us whole brain. And then I'm remembering from personal experience and a lot of online experience how fucking stupid snakes are. And I'm like,
birds are really stupid too. I'm over here like, birds are dumb.
Birds are stupid, snakes are stupid. Like, there's
how much of that?
There's intelligence in dogs, but it's not. Obviously, it's not to the level of a human intelligence.
Yeah,
and I really do want to just hand wave it and go, wow, magic. But in a very real way. I'm
over here like, I like the magic thing too, but it's like, I want at least some degrading in there. I'm like, I like when that happens, because it's like, it makes sense, because you get to watch how they're shifting in general mentally to the point where it's like, what causes that to tick? Kind of
so
thing.
Almost what is that episode? What is that episode, Sandra, with the dude who's eating the parts of animals to gain?
That's Dog Dean Afternoon. That's
Dog Dean
Afternoon. Same episode. Yes.
Right, here's the things I remember from Dog Dean Afternoon. Dean yelling at the mailman, the dog talking, them sticking their heads out of the car, and Sam throwing the balled up piece of paper and Dean bringing it back. Those are the things that I remember from Dog Dean Afternoon. Things I also remember from Dog Dean Afternoon that are not true. The various and sundry E-rated fics I've read around Dean being in the headspace of Dog Dean Afternoon. Okay, I don't remember the fucking dude that was eating the animals.
Yeah, but that was like a whole part. Yeah, that was a whole part of it where, like, he was taking in the traits and different things of all the different animals that he would be able to. And I think it was because he had a form of cancer, so he was trying to, like, I think, keep himself alive, you know, through these different means, like this magic, I think, sort of a thing that was going on with that regard.
Yeah, you see, the problem is there's no bloopers from Dog Dean Afternoon. That's why I don't remember.
Yeah.
No bloopers, I'd fucking remember.
That is interesting, though. Do you think you'll ever try to write something like that kind of gets into that whole degrading thing that you're talking about? Like with
yeah, I mean, I could, but the issue is you're going to be diving down into animal play at that point, because yeah, I'm like, it's stereotypical, but it's generally the most basic form of exactly what it is.
Okay. Yeah. And if that's not something you're wanting to do, then you're not gonna be doing it. Yeah.
I'm like, I would read it, but it's like, because the problem is, it's like, if I start visualizing it, I'm like, this is gross as shit. I can't handle this. And I'm like, I can't do it anymore.
That's understandable. That's why you have the ability to self-edit. That's what that's all about. Yeah. I was really impressed with the fact that you create art, and now hearing more about your love of animation, your background. I mean, you know, being taught by somebody who worked, you know, at Disney as an animator and stuff. So how long have you had the, like, art bug? Has it been with you since you were really little, or when did that, like, start to happen for you? When did you start creating art?
I think it's little for sure, because both of my parents are architects, so it was bound to happen to one of my sisters, so it ended up happening for me. So yeah.
Well, do you remember, like, one of the first things you started drawing when you were little? Like, was there something in particular?
I think I saved the drawing. Is the first ever actual drawing I did. And it was like an image off of some Japanese webpage. I think I got uploaded on the DeviantArt, and it's pretty much Pikachu as a human, but they put him in the Pikachu onesie as an exception to be like, oh, he's human now. And I'm like, yeah, no, that was the first ones that I did. And then I actually have it still. And it's really bad. I can't believe I kept that thing.
Well, we like to see where we've come. Yeah.
My kid draws like just for fun. You know, like he's good at drawing, but it's not something like he particularly wants to pursue past. He just draws for fun. And he'd filled a sketchbook and threw it in the bin. So my husband was emptying the trash in the house, and I was like, "What is that?" And he went, "Oh, throw it in the bin." And I was like, "Well, take it out, put it back." And he goes, "Yeah, but he threw it away." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, he doesn't know. He doesn't know he's going to want to look at that one day." Yeah, he doesn't want to. He doesn't know that he's going to want to look back at that and be like, "Oh, that was where it all started." You got to keep, even when it's bad. Like, you don't have to look at it, but you should keep it.
Yeah. You mentioned Hanna-Barbera. Did you like try to do anything, like sketch anything like that or anything when you were little, or no? Like anything along that line in terms of like,
it was
animation?
more of a consuming thing.
Okay.
And then I actually, because our professor is very strict on exactly what we can and cannot draw for his class. And he was actually surprised I knew enough about Hanna-Barbera's content in these shows that he was like, okay, you're going to do that. And I think it was out of 4 students in that class. I think I was in the top 2, if not 3.
Okay.
I was the only one that would actually get the line work correct to the point where he would only be looking for me to do that. So say if I ended up getting a job in the industry, if they were still doing this type of gig, I would be one of the inkers and liners for stuff. Okay. Because my animation's too stiff, so you would end up getting supplied to a different production line. I would be in that production line then.
Okay. Does art come easy to you?
No, it's one of those, like, I generally am unmotivated because, like I said, I consume so much stuff daily to the point where it's like, it's very hard for me to work on something. I max can only get 2 to 3 pieces out a year. Okay. And this is just for art in general. It could be of anything. So if I'm actually get something done, that's it. It could be 1 out of the 3 pieces. And so I'm like, for me to even do more than that, it's surprising.
Okay. That then leads me to, because I know you're doing bangs and collabs and stuff. So
yeah, we were in the Samwin Japad bang.
Yeah, so
we didn't have head up, but we were together.
Is that something that, did you push yourself or decide to try that because of the motivation factor? What gave you the inkling to decide to, be a part of that in the fandom?
So technically, this is my first actual real bang that went through and executed correctly. I have done another one before for another fandom. Okay. I mainly made transformation art for it, but I turned it in like last minute when it was done, and I got treated like absolute shit with that group of people. The person that ended up adopting the art to do the fic for ended up kind of just writing almost a bestiality type fic for it, and I'm like, no.
Oh, so was this like was this like a reverse? Was this like a reverse bang situation?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they didn't word it as a reverse bang at all. It was just, this was a bang, and you had an option of it was mainly just 1 piece of art from whoever there.
Okay.
And yeah, no, I'm like, for some reason, I'm like, if I talk about transformation too much, it peeves people and it will piss people off so much. It doesn't matter who you are or what fandom you're in, it will peeve you off.
I feel like a lot of it too is you got to find a person that sort of, fandom in general is very persnickety in a lot of different levels. Like, we're all in the supernatural fandom, but we all have a particular like Venn diagram of like how we cross over, with different people and what our likes are and what our dislikes are. And like, what kind of fiction we like to write, what kind of fiction we like to read. And I think a lot of that combines itself into, if it's already sort of like a niche aspect of fandom, it takes even more to find somebody that particularly fits the niche the way you want to talk about it or discuss it. That's across the board with me. I mean, I find myself sometimes sometimes not finding, feeling like I can't find that fit, hearing about that. And I'm sorry that you dealt with that in the fandom. Have you found that the experience within the Supernatural fandom has been a little bit more positive, at least in terms of like your participation in this last bang that you did do, the Samhain Jarpad bang?
Yeah, I'm like, that went smooth to the point where it's like,
how did this happen?
I was fine with that.
Like, wait,
no,
is that supposed to happen this way?
Surprised. Well, I mean, I had my one writer drop out because of like life stuff going on, which I'm like, oh no, this is going on again. And then I had whoever take over. I'm not going to mention names and stuff, but I was actually surprised because I'm like, they were like, oh, I'll incorporate like golden retriever Sam into there, and I'm like, oh shit, now I got to draw more Sams. And I'm like, oh no,
more Sams.
No, I'm very nitpicky on how Sam and Jared look, to the point where it's like I was going to work on that 3D model and I gave up on that because I forgot Blender's a bitch to use.
That is fair, yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, that is fair.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you then ended up, the experience overall kind of was better, right? Like in terms of what you had to deal with in the other fandom. So I feel like the Supernatural fandom, as much as we give grief about a lot of the different things that can occur in it, I feel like we've got a pretty good crew of people, that aren't like, immediately. No, it seems like it's more of a welcoming.
It is very welcoming. Yeah.
Have you come across or like any other like SPN fan art creators that you're like, I really like what they're doing?
So so here's the thing a lot of people don't do is seek out anybody in the Eastern countries art-wise. I'm going to tell you, they do their art right to the point where it's like, I'm like, let's go. So I give people the same type of prompt because I can judge them art-wise if they can do it or not. If they cannot do it, then they're not at a good level yet as an artist to be doing just in general stuff. Because again, when you're having somebody in that's asking for transformation-based work, that's going to be the hardest stuff you'll ever do next to somebody making mechs like Transformers and stuff. Because this is borderline furry art, but I'm like, if you can do that, then you can draw just about anything.
Okay.
I will actually, if necessary, say, here's the material. I've done the work for you. All you have to do is try to replicate it as close as possible in your style.
So you really haven't found that yet?
Actually, fun fact, if you commission somebody from China, Korea, Japan, they get it dead on every time. Or Brazil. I have an artist in Brazil that I commission like every so often. They get their shit dead on, but they're not in the Supernatural fandom at all. The one person I did commission that's in the Supernatural fandom has actually done enough drawings of Sam and Dean that they know exactly what they need to change on them for it to work, and it worked.
Okay. Well, that's promising. I mean, there are some artists out there then that seem to be able to get the stuff out that you like and enjoy and that you're happy with. Do you like the aspect of asking others? Is it more of like seeing how, like you said, their style? You want to see how they're inspired by what it is you want? Is that a lot of what you're looking for too? Is just seeing different styles that come out of these different artists?
For me, if it's like I like your work, then I want to see something. Like if I commission you the thing, that I'm expecting something close to what you made in your style.
I will close out with the secret question. And in my experience, adults don't ask other adults this question enough. So I'm on a one model mission to change that. So, Charlie, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh shoot, there was this one I saw on Instagram Reels. Is a 3D model of a dinosaur dancing with like Spanish music, and it was great. I'm like, nah, that's beautiful. I don't know what it was, but I was watching another video on like another dinosaur. It was one of the older ones. It was pretty much it would kill everything on sight kind of thing.
That could be a lot of dinosaurs.
Are we talking like a movie or like an animation, or what are we talking here?
No, this was like an actual guy just talking about it. I forgot what it was called, but he was like, I forgot what it was called.
That's okay.
It started with a D. That's all. It started with a D, which doesn't narrow down a lot, but it died. Possibly, I think so.
Okay.
But
racking my brain for D dinosaurs.
I don't know. The best way I could describe it is think of the head like it's a very round head, and then you had the jaw. It has about 4 teeth, but you have 2 up in the front, 2 on the far sides, and very, very like instead of like full eyes, you could put 2 dots for eyes, and that would be it. It has a pumpkin styled mouth is the best way I can describe it, for like a jack-o'-lantern sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't put my professional reputation on Dilophosaurus. But if
I'm going to put your professional relationship on.
Well, what? No, you put your own professional dinosaur reputation on Dilophosaurus. Yeah, I
have none.
That's cool. Thank you very much, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Charlie, I've really liked learning about the whole animation aspect and like your interest in that as a whole, and how it sort of reaches out into all these different areas with Supernatural and the fandom. I guess like to kind of close it, because I'm glad you reached out to us to like, you know, come on, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping you're getting better experiences overall with your fandom time spent, you know, in the Supernatural community as a whole. But I guess, what have you gotten from Supernatural and the fandom in general that's a positive for you over the past maybe year or two, being like in the fandom and stuff?
I like just watching the show in general. Like, I like making jokes. I have to. Like, just Supernatural as a show itself could be taken completely out of context once you insert in something that does not match the show. Like, me and my one friend that actually started the show together, we are waiting for Peter Griffin to show up, the cameo in the show. We're literally just waiting for him to show up. It could be like a JPEG just standing in front of the camera or something. But we're over here waiting for him to show up, because we had like a bunch of characters show up. We had Bob Dylan show up one time. We had Mark Zuckerberg show up. If you want to get an insight into how the joking process works, there's a TV show that came out, because it's based off of Mad Magazine, but they did 2 parodies of Supernatural in the show itself, to the point where I'm like, if anybody wants to watch something pretty unhinged, where they're generally just doing jokes the whole time, just watch that, because it came out in like 2010, and I could have literally hopped on to Supernatural after that like episode aired, but I didn't. Instead, I watched Lightning McQueen get crushed by a car crusher in that show, and I'm like,
okay,
I'm like, who thinks of that? I'm like, nobody.
Yeah, I couldn't answer that one. That is for certain.
Well, I think too, I mean, there's a lot about Supernatural that I think realizes that it can make fun of itself. And I mean, I know just from realizing about like the whole memes, like, you know, Supernatural has a meme for everything. And I feel like it's incorporated into so many years of being on TV that it really did, it took in a lot of different culture and stuff. And so the joking part of it, I feel like they're in on the joke, and it's nice to kind of be in on the joke with everybody else. When it comes to this kind of like, pop culture little phenomenon, like within this time period and time capsule of a thing. So it's nice that you can find, stuff to joke about and have fun with, because that's kind of what TV and just entertainment is, right? You're supposed to be entertained by it. So it's good that you're finding a little bit of like levity in like, because I know that's what Kasey and I talk about all the time. Like for me, it's a great escape from whatever's going on in real life. You just get a 100%. Chance to just zone out and just look at the ridiculousness and go, I can't believe this is happening. But yes, this is happening, and they're going to find a way to fix it, or they're going to do something that we're going to cringe at and be like, ooh, really shouldn't have gone there.
Scoobynatural.
See, that to me is no, but we'll
but we agree to disagree on that one.
Well, we agree to disagree, and that's the beauty of it too. We can agree to disagree as adults in the fandom. So hopefully
Sandra's working real hard on her agree to disagree right now, guys. Really fucking hard. We can agree to disagree.
I'm waiting for Supernatural to just adapt Gen Z humor to the point where it's literally just static noise. What if they just have everybody Supernatural speak English, and then Sam's over here speaking Japanese? And Dean's over here like, what?
Have you watched Changing Channels yet? Because if not, there's like a scene that's kind of like that, which is kind of pretty funny.
No, I've seen Changing Channels, but I'm like, I just want pure, like, oh God, no, that I'm going to add this as the last thing. Okay. So if you guys get bored, fun fact, the guy that voices Sam and I think Czech voices Mort from Madagascar and SpongeBob.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Goodness.
No, I found that out on Tumblr, and I had to go search it out myself, and I'm like, this is beautiful. This is what I've been waiting for. It was a sign.
Aw. It was a sign.
Love that for you, though.
It was a sign.
I love that for you. I will admit to being mildly baffled. Gen Z humor is confused and scared. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
but
don't try to explain it to us.
Yeah, we're lost. But I love that for you. I love that that speaks to you, and you're finding that stuff.
Yeah, that's great. That's why it's great that you can get to do you however you want to do you. And I think you'll find that people overall in the fandom, don't think about the ones that are pretty receptive to the fact that everybody finds their joy in different ways. And that's perfectly fine. And we're glad you're finding your joy. And I'm glad that you came on to chat with us. I learned a lot of new things I'm still, as Kasey said, baffled about, but you taught me some stuff. And that you feel more comfortable over time with, just fandom in general, because you need to find joy in it. You know what I mean? So I'm glad you're doing that. It was really interesting to hear about the animation, your thoughts on transformation. And I'm glad you took some time to chat with us today. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Good.
Excellent.
Good. I'm glad.
I hate that I came off of Instagram Reels before the interview, so I was just watching whatever the hell was going on.
That's fine. That's what happens. We do this all the time when we're chatting. Kasey's like, I just saw the weirdest thing, and now I have to share it with you. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. But we are going to let you go because we do have to get ready for a live stream in about an hour or so. And there are some things we need to work on behind the scenes. But I do appreciate you coming on. Feel free to exit out whenever you want. And we will, I'm sure, be talking to you soon. Okay?
Maybe we'll see you over on YouTube.
Yeah.
Live in a little while.
Yay.
All right. Have a good rest of the day, okay?
Have a good rest of the day. Thank you so much for joining us, Charlie.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Boy.
We want to thank Charlie for coming on, talking to us about their love of animation, which is pretty extensive.
That's really, really interesting, though.
I really do like that stuff. And yeah, I'm sorry. I did have to nerd out a little bit about Scoobynatural. I couldn't help it.
I'm only ever yanking your chain.
I apparently was like, I was not even aware that there's certain, there's generations or seasons of Supernatural. I mean, Scooby-Doo artwork. So again, I'm thinking old school.
You're not.
Yeah.
Have you not seen the new stuff? It's
no, not really. So that's why I was like,
yeah. It all gets updated to that weird kind of 3D weirdness.
I get it.
Yeah.
But still, it was great to hear about, I do think it's important to like let people try to find their space. And again, like it's just hard when you have a lot of different interests, right? And so it's kind of like honing in on the thing and then finding other people that want to talk about the thing. And that's kind of just like a journey that I think everybody has to go on in their own way. And I think Charlie is getting that and learning about it that way. So hopefully they enjoy their experience within the Supernatural fandom as time goes on and they get more acclimated to our crazy old crotchety ways as we are prone to do. But I don't know, did you have any other thoughts before we wrap up?
Just that it was interesting to obviously Charlie is a little bit, well, maybe not obviously, but Charlie is younger than me. So
and you are younger than me. Sure. So by definition, everyone is always younger than me.
Yes, by definition, Charlie is younger than Sandra. But I thought it was interesting to get a perspective of the fandom from a younger fan and from a fan who, you know, is clearly much more invested in the social media side of things. And, you know, as Charlie said, being everywhere all of the time, which is certainly not something that I do. And I know it's not something that you do. So it's interesting to kind of get that perspective of what the fandom looks like to someone, not only someone younger, someone relatively new to the fandom, you know, just a couple of years, but also someone who has grown up immersed in this internet culture that we didn't grow up with.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, it's really a totally different thing. It is very interesting. Very interesting. I think too, like just seeing how things play out, right? Like seeing and knowing about the history of this fandom in particular, again, with the different experiences, talking to different people, seeing how it does morph and change and evolve, but I feel like it has this regenerative quality to it. It seems like a pretty hardy fandom to me. Like I think it can withstand a lot, you know?
20 years strong, and we're like 5 years past the end of the show now, and we're still here. So
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But we will be here for all of it. I have a feeling
we will be here. You will be in the back seat with us, guys. Masterful fucking Cedric.
Yes, there we go.
God, I'm so good.
You're so good. But for now, as good as Kasey is, we do have to wrap up. But we want to thank you for listening and let us know what you thought of the episode. You can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. Old school, you can email us. Comment on Spotify in the Q&A section. Leave a YouTube comment. Join our Discord and chat with fellow idlers and us in real time. Check out our merch store, which is another fun way to show your support. You can find details for everything on our website. That's idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our Supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers and would love to have you along for the ride.
Speaking of perks, we've got special shout outs for some of our Ko-fi members. From our Shotgun Picks and Music tier, we've got Runaway Dreamer, Crowley's Mistress, Sam and Dean 76, and Elia. From our own Mrs. Butters tier, we've got Charlie. Thanks for picking the tunes in the car and keeping the lights on in the bunker. Support like yours keeps our podcast going. Thanks. Don't forget, you can always support us for free by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, and following, rating, sharing on audio platforms. Engagement like that really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. As always, we have the causes we support in the description. So from me, you have LGBTQ plus talking charities. From Sandra, you have mental health charities. And of course, the main causes that we are highlighting, championing, spotlighting are World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. If you want to know more about these causes, why we're supporting them, what they mean to us, check out idlingintheimpala.com. There's a page there called Cause is Cause with all the details. So with that, we will say thank you for joining us in the back seat. Thank you, Charlie, for joining us in the back seat. And we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.